Hi there, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast.
For 15 years now, we've been proudly helping breeders promote hundreds of thousands of pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use animal management-driven website software.
And let's not forget about Hired Hand Live, where over $1 million worth of livestock is sold online each year.
We're excited to bring you market trends, sales data, advice from your fellow breeders, and stories from the ranch.
Our software makes managing your website and your animals a breeze, so you can focus on what you love.
So let us handle your digital chores while you tune in to another episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Welcome to this episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Today we're visiting the beautiful pastures of Holy Cow Ranch in Ben Wheeler, Texas, home to a moderately sized herd of registered Texas Longhorns. Owned by Joe and Tanya Mendenhall and managed by Meredith and Chris Kirkscey. I'm your host, Molly Clubb, and I'm excited to take you on another journey into the world of Texas Longhorns and the breeders who care for them. Well, thank you for joining me today, Meredith.
Hello, Molly. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. Well, why don't you start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and the role that you play at Holy Cow Ranch?
Sure. So I am the eldest of 4 daughters, and I've been married for 5.5 years to my wonderful husband. When I'm not at the ranch, I'm an occupational therapy assistant, and I'm the rehab manager at a skilled nursing facility. At the ranch, I manage the herd and oversee what we buy, what we sell, kind of the day-to-day care. My parents own the Longhorns. My husband drives the truck and trailer, and my brother-in-law is that can kind of help with when we're gathering and changing pastures or doing vaccinations or things like that. And then my sisters and nieces and nephew get to spoil them and name them.
So it's truly a family affair then. Everyone has some role to play.
They do.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you got started in Longhorns and how you got to where you are today with everyone being involved.
So back in 2001, my parents wanted, the ag exemption and get something on the land. And we happened to drive past the Marquess Ranch every single time. They're about a half mile down the road from us. And so we went to the Marquess Ranch and picked out our original 6 cows and calves and leased a bull from them and never looked back. We wanted something that looked pretty in the pasture, and we had no idea what we were doing, but we loved what we drove past and saw from the Marquess's ranch and went there.
So a lot of folks might be jealous of the fact that you got some of your first ones from breeders who have been in the industry for that long and, have bred a lot of famous animals. What caught your eye when you were at their ranch? Like, tell me a little bit about the types of animals you went home with. Was it color? Was it horn? Was it temperament?
Very much color at that point in time because we had no idea what we were doing. And so we went in the pasture and picked out the 6 pretty cows that we liked and the calves that we liked, not paying any attention that they were mostly bull calves, and just blindly went into this. We took home those cows and there were 3 bull calves and 1 heifer. And it was Matilda was the heifer, and then we named the bull calves Happy, Precious, and Spot. And oh my goodness, all 4 daughters were devastated when we had to sell those bull calves, and even more devastated when we found out one night we were eating Happy. That was not okay.
Oh, no.
But it's how, we got into it, and we kind of peter-pattered along for years, and we'd lease a bull from either the Marquesses or Atlanta Hightowers just down the way. And then basically everything would go to the sale barn. We didn't really pay attention to what we had or what we were breeding. And I mean, looking back, I'm kicking myself because I know bloodlines and horns and all these things that we were breeding that my dad was like, okay, it's our time to go to the sale barn. We got to keep our numbers down, and just would ship them all to the sale barn. And I'm just kicking myself for what we lost in those years, but I'm paying more attention now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. What do you feel like shifted for you? And then how did that change your process? How long did it take you to learn some of that strategy when it comes to the pedigrees? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I honestly started paying attention more on social media. I saw things popping up more, found the Longhorn groups. I'd been reading the Trails magazines that came out every month and looking at those, but really it was social media that kind of opened up my eyes to what all is out there in the Longhorn world. And so back in, I think, 2018, we went to the Marquesas and bought another 3 cows along with the Happy Nine son. And I was like, okay, I know now that we have some really good genetics here. We really need to start paying attention to what we're doing. If we're going to buy a good bull of this quality, we need to make sure the cows that we have meet that standard. So I just started really getting into conformation and what breeds what kind of horn. And, on the fun part, if we can get some color, but of course we all know color is completely unpredictable, just trying to pay attention to the quality of the cows that we have. And then instead of just shipping everything to the sale barn, marketing them and making the Facebook page and getting the website and doing all those things to really try and promote the herd and move it forward. I started reaching out to a bunch of different breeders and just trying to connect and make new friends and learn even more. I spent a lot of time in Lana Hightower's pasture, just sitting there learning and talking through things. And I did, different conformation classes, and I went all over everybody's website that I could find and would reach out and ask about cows or, hey, is this one available? Or what is the breeding behind this? And how did you get to this cow? And just kind of learning as I went along. I love to learn and talk with people.
Tell me a little bit more about the confirmation classes that you mentioned.
I did the ones through the Dickinson Ranch. He put on the ITLA confirmation class online. And that was kind of my first big lesson. This is what you're looking for. The body. This is the way the back should go, the shoulders, how the neck ties into the shoulders, and just paying attention to that. And then going to sales and going to shows and trying to just see all of the different cows in person and apply that knowledge. And then talking with, Lana Hightower has been a Longhorn judge for a long time. And so sitting with her and having her show me in person, hey, this is what's, good on this cow, or this is what can be corrected, or, hey, you may want to avoid this or that for these reasons. And yeah, just paying attention, really just starting to actually look and study versus, oh, I like that cow's color and this is what I want to take home.
So you mentioned earlier that it was in 2018 that you felt like you kind of started to shift gears a little bit and stress the importance more of those aspects. Talk to me about where you're at today and what it's taken you to get there, how long it's taken you to get there. Tell me a little bit about that story.
Yeah, I definitely think it's taken since 2018 to really push the herd along. We use that Happy Nine son we usually do about 3 breeding seasons per bull. Used him, got some great heifers out of him, and then just kind of narrowed it down from there, started evaluating those heifers. What do we want to keep? What do we want to move on? I like the conformation of this one. This one could maybe use a little more horn, things like that. Also, just looking at the cows that we bring in. I have a very small budget for what I'm allowed to add to the herd each year. And so I've got to do my homework. I've got to do a lot of due diligence and find where are the quality cows that I can fit within the budget that I've been given. How many cows do I need to sell to maybe up that budget a little bit? I think my dad's ideal herd size would probably be about 15. Mine's probably 20 to 30, but I definitely want to enforce that quality over quantity. And if I can get it down to 15 high quality cows, great. And I'll do that in a heartbeat. So in looking at that, we used that Happy Nine son for 3 years. We've now got Machinist, who's a Macanudo and Tough Enough son, and he's added some amazing hip and body to these calves. And just kind of watching them develop along. And now as we're starting to rotate out a bull again, I want to keep that trend going. And I really look at those maternal lines of those bulls that we bring in because that's going to be a big part of your herd. So when I picked machinist, I looked at his dam, Tough Enough, and she's a 1,300 pound, 90-inch cow that just looks amazing. She just is well built. She's long bodied, good color, great horn. And, I wanted that in my herd. And so as we're moving along to this next bull that we'll be getting, I'm doing the same thing. I'm really studying the maternal lines, the maternal pedigree. I want those big bodied cows. Preferably, I'd love to add some brindle to my herd. I only have a little bit in there and I'd like a little more, but something with just good body, good udder, good conformation, great fertility. Fertility is the biggest thing with Longhorns. We always talk about how they're easy calving, easy fertility. And if that's not continued, then you lose the value of your herd.
So one thing I picked up on that you said is that you have a very tight budget to work with to try to reach your goals. Tell me about some of the ways that you find the cows to bring in. Is it through social media? Is it at sales? Is it visiting ranches? What ways are you finding to work within that budget?
Really, it's just the connections. Having the connection with Lana Hightower and getting to know her and, being able to go and study her herd and what she has. I was able to get a drag iron daughter from her within a reasonable budget. And she's a fantastic, absolutely gorgeous cow. Bought a beautiful top caliber daughter from Kathy Lewis down south. We had purchased a heifer from her a couple years prior and then went back and bought that heifer's dam, which was a top caliber daughter. And so just being able to kind of add those genetics into the herd through just good conversation and making friends. And as much as I would love to go to a whole bunch of sales and visit a whole bunch of ranches, I don't have all of that time. And so I have to do it basically on communication via social media or, messaging or texting or phone calls just to build those relationships to find what cows and bulls can I find within my range. As I've started looking for a new bull, I sent a message to a whole bunch of different people saying, this is my budget. This is what I'm looking for. Do you have anything within that range? And, some people I never heard from, some people said they'd get back to me, and other people were like, yes, we've got these bulls, we've got these different ones. And so, just being able to put yourself out there and reach out to anybody and everybody, that's one thing I feel like is amazing within the Longhorn community is I'm not afraid to go and just reach out to any breeder, whether I've spoken to them or not, because they may have something I want and they may not, but it can't hurt to ask.
That's great advice.
And now a word from our sponsors.
From the Pasture by Hired Hand is presented by R3 Hilltop Ranch. Located in Chilton, Texas, R3 Hilltop Ranch has been breeding registered Texas Longhorns since 2006. What began as 3 heifers has grown into our current herd, which you can explore on our website at r3hilltop.com. We're passionate about loud colors, longhorns, and docile temperaments, but it's the easy-keeping, low-maintenance traits of Texas Longhorns that initially attracted us and continue to drive our herd growth. In addition to livestock, we proudly offer certified Longhorn beef products. Visit r3hilltop.com/beef to learn more. Thank you for listening and enjoy exploring our ranch online at r3hilltop.com.
Looking for top-quality Longhorns and a taste of true Texas spirit? Look no further than Cantera Cattle Company. Our passion for Longhorns shines at Old Gringo Ranch, where tradition meets excellence. Visit us online at CanteraCattleCompany.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for the latest updates and ranch life fun. Ready to experience it yourself? Schedule your visit by emailing canteracattle@gmail.com. Remember, God is great, Longhorns are good, and life is crazy.
Are you a new Longhorn breeder eager to educate yourself on market trends and sale prices? Stay in the loop with our text messages. Get the latest updates, events, and insider tips on all things Longhorns delivered straight to your phone.
Stay informed by texting website to 888-700-8131, then reply with Longhorns. That's website to 888-700-8131. Sign up today and take your breeding program to the next level.
Tell me about what you feel like your next 5 years looks like.
So next 5 years, I would love to have a herd that does have our brand on it for the majority. And we're getting pretty close to that between our zip tie heifers and our machinist heifers. We've got a lot that we've been able to keep. And then I'd love to just be a place where anybody can come and find a high quality cow, whether it's a new breeder, an old breeder, something for anybody. I'm not expecting to produce that $100,000 cow that I feel like a lot of people get caught up in, but I would love to produce something that is of high quality that anybody across the industry would want to purchase for a reasonable price. I think a big part of our industry is keeping the little guys, I feel like myself, going, and that motivation of, okay, we can sell our cows for higher than just the sale barn price. We can market our cows to each other and to new breeders for something that's higher than just a sale barn price. And I feel like if we can continue to build up the relationships with the smaller breeders, and in that continue to build the quality of cattle that everybody has, that market can really pick up, and we can see more people sticking with it and investing in these cows, and understanding that, yes, you can find the really good deals, but then it's okay to spend just a little bit more. And I say a little bit more, the $3,000 to $5,000 range cows. You have a couple of those, and I feel like that just kind of increases the overall quality of your herd and makes it to where people can come and look at those cows. And then you have some that are maybe not quite that caliber, but still high quality that can easily go for a reasonable price to a new breeder.
So you mentioned earlier that a lot of what you've learned, is from social media, and that you also picked up on how important it is to market your herd. Have you been having some success reaching those newer breeders, getting them to come visit your ranch and kind of helping them get started?
I have. I feel like the majority of our customers, I was having a hard time there. The majority of our customers are new breeders or just getting into it. And as I meet them, as I talk with them, I make it well known that they can always come back for questions or any advice. I make sure they've got the right setup, the right corrals and panels. And if they have a question that I can't answer, I turn around and I ask one of the other breeders that I know. We don't do a lot of feeding. They eat hay, they eat protein tubs and the cubes occasionally, but we have people that ask about food. I'll turn around and ask another breeder that I know about food and be able to get the answer for that breeder instead of just okay, you've bought my cow and move on. I want to be able to be that resource and let people really know that they can invest into cattle, into the longhorn cows, as well as getting the advice to continue and move forward with their herd, and not just, okay, I bought these cows and now I have no idea what to do with them.
Would you go back and change anything about how you all started, or is there anything that you wish you would have done differently?
Oh, I wish I'd paid attention sooner. I wish I'd paid attention sooner. I look back at some cows that I know we took to the sale barn that, had phenomenal horn or good conformation or whatever. And we just were moving them on and didn't pay attention. And I wish I had. It's funny, I had a cow pop up a couple of years ago on social media that was one of ours, and we'd taken it to the sale barn, hadn't seen it since, but she had a very distinctive marking on her face that was like the letter A. And I saw her pop up on social media, and she was being sold as unregistered. And I was like, and she looked fantastic. Her horns were okay, but her body, she was big bodied, long, gorgeous cow. And I was like, oh, I wish I still had her in my herd, because she would have been a great producer of just good, big bodied calves that I love.
Are there any others that you know of that you let get away that you're kicking yourself for? I know you mentioned a few times, you wish you knew sooner, but any other specific examples?
There's not any that I've seen since we've sold. I've wanted to reach out. I've reached out a couple of times just on local Facebook groups of, hey, has anybody bought a longhorn at Emory at any point in time, and haven't had any responses. So I don't know. I don't know what happened to any of the ones that were sold. I know we had a brown cow. Her name was Classy Lass. She was one of our originals. And I can't remember who she went back to. She just could produce this beautiful color and great horn. And, my dad decided one day that he was ready to move on and just took her to the sale barn. Okay. And, at the time I didn't really think anything of it because I just figured that's what we do. Man, she was a really pretty cow.
I feel like with as many people from your family that are involved with the herd and the ranch, you have to have some other stories that maybe are funny but not funny. Can you share a few of those with us?
So I've got my nieces and nephews, and we had a cute story of when George and Nora were probably 2 and 4. I mean, they were little, and they decided they wanted to call the cows. And I go out in the pasture and, woo, cow, really loud. And that's how we really call them. And they were sitting there at the fence going, woo, cow, oh, cow, in these cute little kid voices. And sure enough, the herd came in. They came running, but they love to see the little babies and name the babies and love on the babies. We've had a couple of close calls. We had a cow, Miss Piggy. Miss Peeler was her original registered name. She did not last long. She had an attitude when she had a calf. She flipped me over on my back. So she went to the sale barn. My dad was feeding the cows one day and did not carry a stick with him and ended up with a horn through his hand. Thankfully, just the top and just the skin, but he had about 36 stitches in his hand. Things that, could have been bad, but we can laugh at today. I did have my very favorite cow, Penny. And this girl, I can go out there and give her a big old bear hug. I can put my nieces and nephews on top of her. She's just the sweetest thing. Well, I made the mistake of bending over in front of her and she jumped up on my back. And I was all by myself, and I don't curse, but I was cursing and found the nearest tree to just lean against until I could push her off of me. And from that day on, I carry a stick with me because I know she meant well, but that could have been really bad.
Wow. Yeah, for sure.
It was quite entertaining. I think probably one of the other funny things that has happened, I tend to talk in my sleep. And I sat up one night and just yelled as loud as I could and called the cows in my sleep. And it scared my husband half to death.
Oh my goodness.
I woke myself up in the middle of the night. Woo! Cows! Like full on loud. And that woke us both up.
The question I feel like is, did they hear you? Did they come or no?
I was in Dallas at the time. So probably. And I'll just.
Well, who would you say is the favorite in your herd today?
So I've got a couple. I'd say Penny is probably my favorite, just love bug. She's beautiful. She loves scratches. I can go up and just lean against her and, you've got those horses you can go love on. She's my cow that I can go love on. And then I'd say conformation wise, I love Amazing Wow. She's just spectacular in her conformation. She's a working woman daughter and just a big body, produces well. And then I think our Delta Fifi clone daughter, Ruby Sue, she also just has a really good body, beautiful color. She looks just like her dam. And I need her horn to kick in just a little bit more. But I know, again, those older bloodlines, that horn goes slow. You've got to be patient. And she's got some good twists to her. But I think she can continue to produce really well. The heifer she just gave was her first heifer, and it's a big old heifer. So I like that.
Well, this next question, I'm not sure you'll be willing to show your hand or not, but you mentioned that, you're starting to look for a bull.
Yes.
For your next breeding season. Are you willing to share with us kind of the traits that you're looking for, or maybe some of the genetics that you're hoping to bring in?
Yeah, of course. Genetics, I'm not as concerned with genetics. I'd like to kind of outcross what we currently have. We've got a lot of since we had the Happy Nines, and we've got a lot of cowboy tough checks in there. Also Tough Enough from Machinists brought in some cowboy tough checks. I've got some drag iron. So maybe kind of drift away from those just a little bit to outcross. But the biggest thing I'm looking at is, what does the dam look like? Should she have a good big body? I like a, 1,100, 1,200 plus pound cow. I want that sound udder. I want that breed back, quickly. We've got a drag iron daughter that she backs herself up by a month just about every year. I mean, she is a quick breeder, and I want that in all of my cows. So the dam of this bull needs to have really good fertility and just really good quality conformation. If we can get one that's brindle, that would be great. I would love some more brindle in my herd, but obviously I'm going to go more for conformation and fertility than I am the color.
Having spent the past 5 years or so learning pedigrees and learning more about what you like, who would you pick as your all-time favorite cow in the breed, dead or alive?
I just got to see HL Adorned in person at the Fritz satellite measuring. Man, that's a spectacular cow. She is just gorgeous, huge body, great udder, and her horns. I love character to horn. I don't want just good straight out horn. I like character. And she's got over 100 inches of beautiful high twist. Just a gorgeous cow. I would love to have a pasture full of that cow. Love Jamaicism's Alfie. I just think she is another fantastic big cow and just gorgeous. I love her body and conformation.
She also has that brindle that you seem to
I
like.
love that brindle. Love that brindle.
What about your all-time favorite bull, dead or alive?
I'd say drag iron, because of just the color that he can produce. I think is really incredible. And I've been looking at the Prophet. He was up north. I can't remember who had him. He was a really cool bull that I feel like produced some beautiful cows and has some really pretty sons as well. And but really, I will say I don't necessarily pay as much attention to the pedigree as I do what is that cow's history. What is the line? Is the body of that cow consistent through the maternal lines? Is the bull producing a consistent calf crop? I feel like we've got a lot of big names out there, but a lot of the times those big names are just because those people were able to market in a way that maybe others weren't. So I want to look at all ranches and all places, and if they've got good, consistent, cattle, I feel like it doesn't have to be a name that everybody knows, as long as it is a cow that is a consistent, wonderful producer.
Well, one question I feel like I haven't asked is how you came up with your ranch name.
Holy Cow Ranch. My mom loves a punny joke, and Holy Cow is just an expression that comes up in our family. And so it quickly became the ranch name. And when we added cows, we were going, holy cow, and all the time, because we're funny like that. And so we came up with that name and then did our brand. I think it was kind of a family affair to draw out the brand. And we've got the longhorn head with the halo. And then a couple years later, I added the HC Halo prefix to our cows that we're raising. And we went from there. So I know there's a couple of different Holy Cow ranches out there, but I don't know who started first. We were in 2001 though, and we're fine to share the name.
Well, and I feel like you're all located in a little bit different spots. So hopefully you're spread out enough as well.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit more about marketing and your hired hand website specifically. What would you say is your favorite feature, having had your website and using it for a while?
It's so easy. I can just pull it up on my phone really quick and add pictures and update things and make adjustments. It has been so convenient to change. I mean, we have a calf born. I've got it up on the website same day, very quickly, already posting about it. I can make a Facebook post and add the calf's, page right there, which I feel like I mean, I'm not technologically savvy, but I feel like that could be very complicated in other ways. And Hired Hand had just made it very simple.
We've talked about your journey and how long you've been working on your herd. What made you feel like you were finally ready to get started with your website?
I needed an easier way to show off our herd other than just trying to use a Facebook page. I mean, the Facebook page can work, but when you have an actual website that I can send people to that has the pedigrees, that has the prices, that has all the information, and then people can also go and track down different pedigrees from there, I feel like that just ups your game a little bit, makes it a little more professional, and really makes my life a lot easier.
And now let's hear from our advertisers.
Hidden Springs Ranch, located in central North Carolina, is committed to registered Texas Longhorns. From our high-end breeding stock down to our delicious Longhorn beef sticks, check us out at hslonghorns.com or on Instagram at Hidden Springs Ranch. Hidden Springs Ranch, where they're bred to turn heads.
When it comes to buying and selling livestock, trust is everything. At Hired Hand Live, we have a platform that breeders and buyers rely on, whether participating in a live auction, an internet-only event, or hosting their own online auction. Our secure, user-friendly system ensures that your bid counts, and every transaction is backed by our commitment to integrity.
Whether you're a part of a consignment sale or planning your own internet auction, Hired Hand Live connects breeders and buyers live and online. Discover why breeders trust us with their livestock auctions. Visit hiredhandlive.com today.
Do you sometimes feel like you're the only one who doesn't have it all figured out? Rural life can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be.
Welcome to Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, the podcast for women who are craving connection, laughter, solidarity, camaraderie, and just overall encouragement in your everyday life and dreams.
Each week, your hosts, Annalise, that's me, and Courtney will cover topics such as farm life, mom life, making money online, side hustles, hobbies, sharing on social media, jobs off the farm, and so much more.
Us rural gals need to stick together, so saddle up for some fun, real, and unsolicited advice and stories from our everyday farm lives.
Grab a drink, we're Ag's Most Okayest Farm Girls, and we're here to help. Listen wherever you find podcasts.
Imagine updating your website and managing your animals at the same time without needing tech experience. With Hired Hand software, it's that easy. Our user-friendly platform is designed specifically for breeders, allowing you to keep your site fresh and your animal records up to date in just a few clicks.
Let us simplify your digital chores while you focus on what you do best. Visit hiredhandsoftware.com and see just how easy it can be.
Hey, if you love From the Pasture with Hired Hand, why not go check out my podcast, The Big Iron Podcast with Andrew Shigori, where we dive into the world of registered Texas Longhorns and what it means to be an agriculture entrepreneur in the modern world, with a little southern flair, of course. Find The Big Iron Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, can you tell me what the last 3 Hired Hand websites in your search history were?
I love going to, is it Eaton and Sandy Barham's website, because they always have the prettiest pictures. And then in turn, I'll go to the Glendennings because they take the pictures for the Glendennings. I feel like they just have gorgeous photos. And I think taking high quality pictures is a really big part of the marketing. So I appreciate when I can go to a website and see, high quality pictures, well taken photos that you can tell somebody took the time to really get out there. The New Age Cattle Company, Randy's, I've been on there a couple times. And then I don't know, I reached out to so many looking for a bull. So just about any I could find that had anything that I was slightly interested in. The Silver Tea and who's up north with Viper Dragon?
Kevin Bryant?
Yes. I love Viper Dragon. Love him. All those websites I go perusing.
So do you ever get involved in Hired Hand Live and any of the online sales or bidding? Or do you tend to stay away from that?
Well, I would love to be able to buy a cow at a sale. I definitely get on and watch all of the sales, but I have not had the opportunity to purchase yet. That would take a lot of convincing from my father to be able to add from a sale part of it is we don't have a huge budget for the Longhorns. And so like I've talked about, I really try and work on that quality within what I do have as a budget. And then just, hey, can I sell a bunch and market those well? And then I can turn around and add one good high quality cow to the herd. Just I make sure that when I do add to the herd, it is not just kind of a status quo. I do want to be adding something even better than what I have. And so as soon as I can, I will be making purchases on the auctions and on the lives, but that's still a work in progress.
Well, let's switch gears here a little bit and let's talk about kind of the layout of your ranch and some equipment. So
Okay.
you mentioned that you started, the primary reason you all got started was an egg exemption.
Right.
How has the layout or the function of the land that you have changed now that you have Longhorns?
Really pretty much the same. We've got 3 different pastures that we rotate the herd through. We've got the winter pasture, the summer pasture, and then kind of the in between that houses, sometimes it houses the herd, sometimes it just houses the weaned heifers. And we cut our own hay, and we cut hay off the winter pasture and try and do, 2 rounds of cut hay, rotate the herd through so that we can give the different pastures breaks. This year, we tried to give our summer pasture a little bit longer of a break because it started drying out a little more, and kept them in the point pasture. The problem is the biggest pasture that we have that we usually keep just the young heifers and our horses on, it has full access to the lake. And despite the fact that it's the largest pasture and has the most grass, the cows have most definitely figured out how to swim out of it and swim across the lake and get out. And so this year I came up with a pool noodle fence across the lake that actually worked pretty well. I had some doubts from the men in the family that it would work, but it worked until the lake got a little low and then they could just walk over it. And then it stopped working and they got out again. But it worked for a good little bit. So we'll use it again and be able to use that pasture a little bit more just to give our other pastures a break. I think the rotational grazing is really important to give the land a break and let everything take root and grow back as much as possible. So the more we kind of flip through, the better.
And did you have to change any of your fencing or add any like working pens or a special chute?
So Ron Marquess designed a squeeze chute for us. And so we've got that set up. And I mean, it works really well. I would, now that I know a little bit more, and also now that we are having longer horned cattle, I'd open up the opening a little bit wider. We had a steer a couple years ago that we sold. He was 109 inches tip to tip at 6 years old, and he was too big for the chute. So he could walk in. If we could get him to walk in backwards, it worked, but trying to actually go in through the front part didn't. So we do have that custom chute built. I'd make a couple little adjustments, make it a little bit wider to accommodate for more horn. But otherwise, it works really well. It functions well. Ron did a good job and obviously knew what he was doing when he designed it. And we've got a couple different working corrals, some tall fence corrals for weaning, and just we have it set up to where we can call them and train. We've got them all trained. They come on into the corral when we feed them. They all get fed in the corrals, so they're pretty easy to catch. And we try to keep it as simple as possible. We're a very low maintenance herd. Because usually it's just me out there calling them in and doing some stuff. So I need it as simple as possible. My husband, when he's out there, he helps. And then if we're actually working the herd, I'll have my dad's help and some brother-in-laws. But usually it's me and my husband a little bit. So we try and keep it as simple as we can.
Well, I have a few rapid fire questions here. Can we go through those?
Sure.
All right. So the other day I asked a guest this question, and it was a couple, and I think they each took it a different way. One answered me what the favorite snack to feed the cows was, and the other answered his favorite snack to have. So I guess it can go either way, or we can do both. But the question was favorite farm snack.
So favorite farm snack for me would be my mom's roasted peanuts that she does usually in the winter. She buys a whole bunch of raw peanuts and roasts them, and they're so good, easy to keep in your pocket. And the cows, they love just their 20% cubes that we put out. All we have to do is bump that bag and they come a running.
So do the cows ever get a hold of the peanuts at all?
Oh, yes. They do love the peanuts when offered. Crunching on them.
What about your favorite farm tool?
Probably my flag or my paddle, just a good extension of your arm to make sure everybody's going where they're supposed to go for both horses and cows. I think, safety is a big thing. As much as we emphasize the demeanor and disposition of our cows to be gentle, they're still cows. They still have huge long horns and they can still get you unintentionally. And so I think just being mindful of that and keeping a stick or a flag with me just to make sure I'm getting space, especially if I'm putting out a thing of cubes. If I'm pouring the bag, they like to get right up in my face to try and get to the cubes. And you want safety, you want space. So I keep that paddle or that flag with me just to make sure I do have a safe round. And then I can put it down and go scratch and love on whoever wants some loves. But I've got it just in case.
Freeze branding or hot iron branding?
We do hot iron. We've got an electric brand, and then our numbers are all just hot irons.
If you could only use one word to describe your herd, what would it be?
I would say evolving. We're still evolving and growing.
So I don't know if you used to watch this show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but they always got a lifeline. So if you had to use a Longhorn lifeline, who would you call?
Probably Lana Hightower. That woman is full of knowledge.
Well, I feel like we covered a lot of ground here today. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share with our listeners?
The biggest emphasis that I want to put on, anybody raising Longhorns is you've got to breed what you want, but you also have to look at quality. A lot of people just say, breed whatever you want to see in the pasture, which I think is great to an extent. But if you want marketable cows, you do have to pay attention to the industry and see what's going on and make sure that you're breeding to the standards of the breed and make sure you're breeding high quality cattle and something that is going to continue to make the Longhorn industry look good.
I think that's great advice. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed everything.
Well, thanks, Molly. It was great talking to you.
Thanks for joining us on From the Pasture with Hired Hand. We hope you enjoyed this visit to Holy Cow Ranch and learned something new about the world of Texas Longhorns. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can always explore more stories from the pasture by visiting our website or following us on social media. Until next time, remember to appreciate the pastures you roam and the traditions that make them special.